This is Anthony Pascal.
And this is Laurie Elster, and this is the All Access Star Trek podcast. Today, we are going to review Star Trek Starfleet Academy, Episode 108, The Life of the Stars. But we're going to start with news, and we have some breaking news, which we will have more details on next week. But here's what we know so far. It looks like Netflix is backing out of the Warner Brothers bidding deal, and Paramount is set to win. Take it away, Tony.
So we haven't talked about this in a while. Paramount wanted to buy Warner Brothers, as did a bunch of other people. But Warner Brothers said, we're going to sell ourselves to Netflix. And Paramount said, we're going to do a hostile bid. And there's been all sorts of back and forth stuff in the last couple months. But basically, in the last week, they finally agreed to negotiations again. Paramount upped their bid a little bit, and Netflix said, no, thank you. And that's where we are now. So as of we're recording this, they haven't technically announced that they have a deal, but there seems to be no other way since Netflix has decided, Netflix is out. There's no one else in. So, so we'll talk about this more next week, but it's going to have a profound impact on Paramount. It's going to increase the size of the company significantly, over double the size of the company. It's going to bring in HBO Max, which will change Paramount Plus, which is the home of all the Star Trek TV, and that's going to have a profound impact. And it's going to take a long time to get this all sorted out. Probably none of this will happen for a year, so nothing's happening tomorrow.
Okay, good. I find it all kind of terrible, but that's just me.
Yeah. So we could get into that next week. Let's start with some nicer news about the franchise, which is the Saturn Awards, which is coming up next month. They're bringing back an old award they haven't used since the 80s, but called the Hall of Fame Award. And Star Trek is going to receive this Hall of Fame award in honor of the 60th anniversary.
I know. I think that's great. And they're and showing up to accept, I believe, William Shatner, Eugene Roddenberry, also known as Rod, and Alex Kurtzman. And it'll be a Star Trek party in the house because Strange New Worlds is up for the show is nominated and 3 of the actors, which we've talked about before. Yeah.
So I'll be there. It's on March 8th. But that's great. And you could watch it, by the way. They've set up something called SaturnAwards.tv, so you can watch it live on March 8th. All right. So let's there's one other thing. So hopefully you're listening to this early Friday morning when the podcast drops.
As you should be, really. I think that's the first thing you should do.
Of course.
Yeah.
So Friday the 27th is the 11th anniversary of the passing of Leonard Nimoy.
That's so crazy. Sometimes it feels like it was very recent, and sometimes it feels like it was a very long time ago.
Yeah, I agree. However, the Nimoy Knight Foundation, which is his daughter, Julie Nimoy, and her husband, David Knight, are looking to fans to help celebrate Leonard's life and legacy just through social media. So they're just asking people on Friday the 27th, to just post a selfie on your favorite social media, whatever it is, Instagram or, whatever.
Blue Sky, for example.
Yeah. With the hashtag, and this is specific, remembering Leonard Nimoy. And if your fingers can do it, throw up the Vulcan salute. Otherwise, there's always tape, right?
You could get a friend to come and hold your hand and help you.
Right.
Or tape, sure.
I could do it with my right hand, but not with my left. So
I can do it with both very easily.
Yeah, I don't know
effortlessly.
It's.
Yeah, you can't. I'm watching Tony. You guys can't see him, but one of his hands just won't do it.
So I'm not ambidextrous.
I'm like Mariner backing out of a room. I can do it with both.
If you also go to the Nimoy Knight Foundation .org, their website, you could sign up and get a free copy of the film that came out in 2007 called Remembering Leonard Nimoy, which kind of covered his last years, especially his struggle with COPD. There was a lot of emphasis on COPD in that, because as he was dying, Leonard kind of became a bit of a outspoken advocate for people to stop smoking and, deal with their lung health.
Yeah.
And the foundation is also giving out these awards, these Live Long and Prosper awards to people. Whoopi got one. George got one recently, George Takei. But they're also giving them to like scientists and a lot of people in the fields of autism and neurodiversity.
Oh, that makes sense. I mean, Spock resonated with a lot of people in that community in a big way.
Oh, yeah. And
they're looking for fans to suggest people. Actually, for these awards.
Yeah, it doesn't have to be someone famous, but someone who's like an advocate for diversity or autism or things like that. So that information is also on their site, and everyone who wins one of these awards gets one of these cool pendants, which, and certificate and all that kind of stuff.
It's nice. It's doing something good, which I think is very Star Trek and very Leonard Nimoy.
Indeed.
Yeah. We have a little bit of merch news, which is that there's a new comic about Uhura being pulled into 1963. So it's sort of like an alternate City on the Edge of Forever, more like a what if kind of thing. And it's got Carl, your favorite guy.
I love Carl.
I know you love Carl. Guardian of Forever. And when did it come? Is it already out, Tony?
It's out. It came out on Wednesday. It's Black History Month. They're honoring Nichelle Nichols. I mean, this is somewhat meta in that, Uhura goes back in time to the Civil Rights era. And guess who's in the Civil Rights era? Dr. Martin Luther King, So right. I'm not going to spoil anything, but
guess what happened? Yeah, I haven't read it, but yeah.
So, but it does kind of parallel the story of City on the Edge of Forever in this kind of alternate view of it. But the Guardian looks different, and it is Carl. And instead of McCoy being pulled back in time first, it's Uhura, and then Spock and Kirk have to go after her to save her.
Do they find stone knives and bearskins?
I'm not going to spoil it.
Okay, good call. Yeah, I think I might read this one.
Yeah, it's nice to honor the legacy, and they haven't done a lot of I think they call it a deviation or I forget. But they haven't done one of these in years for Star Trek, but they found a way to honor Nichelle in a fun way. So, and IDW, we just talked about they just announced a whole bunch of new stuff. So I just celebrate their celebrating of Star Trek.
I like that. Fair enough.
All right.
We also have on the site, just for anyone who's playing Voyager Across the Unknown, our guy Steve did a great article with tips and tricks for people who are playing it. And we also have, there's a video of Robbie McNeil commenting on the gameplay, basically, right?
Yeah, I mean, if you haven't played the game yet and are still thinking about it, it's a good watch. So it's in gamer parlance they call these what let's play, and it's developers sitting down and playing the game, and they play Sector 4 of the game. Game has 12 sectors, 13 sectors, I forget now. I haven't played the whole thing. So Robbie doesn't play, but he watches and comments, and he has a lot of fun with it, and because it's kind of following a story from Voyager, so he's recognizing stuff and asking questions, and he likes how they do certain Paris maneuvers and stuff like that. So
that's cool. That sounds fun.
Yeah,
nice.
But it's a good way to get a sense of what the game is like, especially for people like Robbie, who's not a gamer, but he's kind of appreciating, like he's noticing how, like, when you think of a video game, he points out, which is true in this game, this is not one of those twitchy games where you have to like do something really fast or, you die instantly. You can pause the action in the, and always kind of think through what you're going to do next. It's a strategy game as opposed to an action game, so
I'm edging ever closer to trying it.
Yeah. Now, but listen to what Steve said, which is definitely, unless you are an experienced gamer, play on the bottom difficulty, which is the adventure difficulty level, because the game's hard and there's a lot of micromanaging, which is standard for this kind of game. You got to make sure you got all the deuterium right and fix the ship all the time, and all the stuff that we never saw them do on Voyager, because the ship is going to basically fall apart unless you take care of it.
I'm getting stressed out just thinking about it.
Yeah. Yeah, so let's do a couple Academy bits before we get into the episode itself.
They finished filming season 2. They're done.
It's over.
That is so nuts.
Yeah, they finished on Monday, I think. Yeah.
They had a wrap party Tuesday night. I mean, not everybody. Some people had left already. Like Zoe Steiner was already on the cruise by then, as was Bob Picardo and Gina Yashere. They missed the party.
Yeah, they finished their work and got out of town. Got on the boat. Although apparently, for the episode we're about to watch, like they showed it on the boat with Picardo, and everyone applauded because it's a big Picardo episode. Yeah, it was like a big deal.
They've all been performing and singing. They've been doing all kinds of crazy stuff on that boat. Yeah.
Unfortunately, we didn't have someone on the boat this year. A regular boat guy couldn't make it this year, and
we have a boat guy.
Boat guy,
but he couldn't make it. Well, I'm trying. I know a bunch. I'm sure we all do know a bunch of people there, and I know there was some kind of Academy panel, and I did ask someone to record it, so we'll see how that goes.
Excellent.
Get that recorded.
So,
wait, sorry, just back to that. I just want to suggest to people the cast, they've all been posting really great videos and photos from their last days on set together, and they're well worth a look.
And I don't think we've mentioned this, but we have interviews at the back end of this review, one of which is with Noga Landau and Gaia Violo, who's the creator of the show. Noga's the showrunner, co-showrunner. And we're going to talk a little bit about that season 2 finale they just shot. And she had said something shocking, maybe surprising.
More surprising.
Okay, well, we'll tease you with that.
And we also have an interview with Mary Wiseman, which I forgot to mention. So you'll be listening to both of those today.
Yes. Okay. So a little bit of picking up on something from last week. I mean, we didn't really dwell on this, but something happened last week, which I guess is a milestone in Star Trek, which is officially Jaden became Star Trek's first gay Klingon.
Right. Like we just talked about, he and Kyle are dating and whatever, but we didn't sort of note the firstness of it all.
Yeah.
The first one we're aware of.
Right. I mean, who knows what all those Klingons.
The Klingons in the past.
Yeah, exactly. But this is, it is important. And of course, the usual suspects said the usual things in the usual places.
The usual bigots, let's just call it what it is. The usual bigots said the usual things. But amidst all that, Karim Diané, who plays Jaden, posted this lovely note that he got. He had, he'd spent some time with George Takei on the float, the Rose Bowl float. And then he sent a note to him, and Brad wrote back from Brad is George's husband. And they wrote back sort of together this very lovely note of support and talking about when George felt like he couldn't come out and how it took so long for him to do that. And basically just saying like the diversity is so important and keep doing what you're doing. It was really lovely. And I've seen Karim posting a lot because he's taken a lot of crap from people. And he has remained so upbeat and positive. And his whole conclusion is just, we have work to do. I mean, he's funny because he's like, listen, I'm in New York. So I didn't think anybody was going to care. Like, mean, I'm the same, right? Like you and I, we both live in places where this is not a big thing. And so it's a shock to see that people are actually mad about it in this day and age.
I guess the phrase is shocked but not surprised. But I'm certainly glad that he's got a very positive attitude. I certainly hope that other people in the cast who've been targets of the usual suspects like Carice and others are, because we haven't heard much from her on social, and I just hope she's getting this, the same attitude, and Karim is lifting her up too, if needed.
Yeah, and I mean, we've talked about this, but I met her parents at the junket and had a bunch of us had a big talk with them about things that they should watch out for and warn her to watch out for. And I also, as you'll hear in the interview, I talked to Mary Wiseman about this a little bit.
Yeah, as we know, she had. Yeah. Well, and it's still happening.
Of course it's still happening. Oh my God, it's just crazy.
Yeah.
All right, well, I think we should get into our review of The Life of the Stars.
Yes, which the title comes from, and I didn't realize this until later, but it is tied into the play, which is Our Town, which is Star Trek once again decides to dive into theater to explore their characters.
Well, because I always say, well, it's writers and actors, so of course, right? Like, do you notice how many shows have regular characters suddenly have to act? You know why? Because it's writers writing it and actors acting it.
Yes.
So, but they did. They chose. Well, this play has been a centerpiece of quite a few other things. I read a whole novel where it was the centerpiece recently. I think it was called Tom Lake. Very good book, by the way. But they made really good use of some of the things that are very specific to this play, like not just the themes, but also the staging. Like they really, look, this show is always beautifully layered and structured. And so they didn't just dance on the surface of the play. It's embedded into everything.
Yeah, and I think it was a clever structure. I think certainly for American people who grew up in the USA, it's relatable because every high school does this play eventually because it's easy and cheap to do. And
I had to watch it. I found it. I've never seen it. I'd never read it. I grew up in Canada. I don't know. We didn't talk about it. But I found the version with Paul Newman and Jane Curtin, a filmed version of the stage. Like it was the stage play, but it was filmed.
Yeah.
So I watched that over the weekend just to brush up.
I mean, but it was just on Broadway last year with Jim Parsons, or I think still maybe on Broadway.
Well, then I should have gone to that.
Exactly. But yeah, I didn't find it clunky or, kind of a forced framing device. And, but what it did do is it allowed them to bring in Tilly because this episode again was dealing with the trauma of episode 6. So we're not episode 8 now. Episode 7 was spring break dealing with some of the trauma with some of the characters.
And then just stopped.
This is the second wave of dealing with the trauma, the better version for sure, focusing on Sam and Terima. And Terima, of course, had the most impact. And she wasn't even in the previous episode, nor was Sam for the most part.
Right.
But in general, they were showing, I liked how they showed how kind of the whole college or school, like none of the kids they're fighting each other.
Yeah, nobody's okay.
Yeah. And so they needed Tilly. We never knew that Tilly had this thing for, drama, except that we know that she had just was really good with her cadets. We saw that in the previous seasons of Discovery, how concerned she was. And so she's, a theater kid, as is Mary Wiseman. And
Mary Wiseman fully is a theater kid. I mean, the thing is, they talked about how they didn't want to use traditional, or that they had tried counselors and that it wasn't enough and they needed someone who was not a trauma counselor. So that was why that's why they called her in. It was a perfect way to call her in.
But then again, the Sam trauma story, well, actually, I was going to say it's not tied into the play, but that's entirely wrong.
Yeah, it's fully tied in both thematically and visually.
Yeah, just that Sam was only there at the beginning because Sam, of course, immediately became a theater nerd herself. She read every play in the database.
Favorite.
Yeah.
She's like, yes, changed my life. Oh my God, I love her so much. I know we almost got robbed of more time with Sam and Tilly together. Like, I feel like Jet Reno's head would just pop right off if she saw the two of them in the room together being themselves.
Yeah. I mean, Sam is definitely channeling Tilly season 1 Discovery energy, but then at like setting the dial up even higher, if that's possible. But
because she's a kid.
Yeah.
She's, she's a teenager, basically.
Yeah.
So, I mean, before we go into, I just want to do some big overview things, which that I think, one, we definitely needed this episode.
Yeah.
So I'm really glad that they did it. Two, I think the structure and the pacing, again, just proves this is them at their best. I think it's great. They planned it all. They structured it. They layered it in really, really well. Always on point. And that performances from, let's say, Carice, Zoe, Bob Picardo in particular were mind-blowing to me. Like really, really intense and powerful. I mean, Holly Hunter always knocks it out of the park for me.
Yeah, but I mean, if you think about it, you see those scenes with Carice and Bob really nailing it.
Oh.
And Holly, and you realize one of these people is 19. How old is Carice? Whatever. She's very young.
Yeah, yeah. I'm going to guess early 20s.
Yeah. So, she's in there holding her own, carrying it at moments. That whole scene on the shuttle was so intense, so charged. And, there she is with these just vets, and she's the rookie, and she's able to, should I keep the analogy going? Hitting it, and she hits it out of the park. There we go.
She does. I mean, think about how many things Robert Picardo has been in, right? Like how many different roles has that man had in his acting career? So many. Like I know he's done The Doctor a lot, but he's also in pretty much every show I've ever watched. I mean, he turns up all the time, and he's always so, and Holly Hunter, I've raved about her enough. I'll never stop. But yes, Carice was unbelievable, and everything was, I bought it all. Like all of the actors gave so much emotion and poured so much into this. And I cried so many times every time I watched it.
This episode is quite the tearjerker. They knew they were going for the feels, but it didn't feel cheap. But there was, this was very emotional episode from all the storylines. That was what I was going to ask you before is is there an A story? So is the Tarima's falling apart story or the Sam is falling apart story? Which one is the A story? I
think it's the opposite. Remember last week it was 2 B stories in search of an A story. This week it's 2 A stories. And then the B story is sort of Tilly coming back, even though she was part of one of the A stories.
Yeah.
That's just a little sort of mini story going along because she gets to have a little reunion with Jet Reno, and she spends a little time with Ake and Reno. So there's a little bit of that. But I think they're both A stories. They were both really, really important to everybody. And the difference is that in one case, Tarima's right there in front of everybody, and that's the hard thing for her, is dealing with everybody looking at her, and because they all know something's happened to her, and she thinks it's because they think she's a monster. And then Sam, they're all thinking about her and worried about her, and she's not, and they don't get to be with her and help her.
This again is one of those episodes where they get it right, where there's different points of view, and the faculty or group of faculty characters can be part of the story, and the students can be part of the story in their own way, and they're each dealing with their own level of things, but they're all part of the same story.
It's all tied together, yeah.
And as I think you were implying this, but they were definitely playing the long game with the Doctor story, because in episode 1, which we noted in our reviews, there's something weird going on here, because the Doctor was always the advocate for photonics. Whenever they'd meet a photonic, even a serial killer photonic, he loved him, because that's his, those are his people. And so the way he treated Sam from the beginning of the show always struck me as this. And we knew the Doctors just built these calluses, but we didn't realize how, that they had his plan in mind. It wasn't just that.
I mean, it's interesting because last week you were saying, why isn't the Doctor fixing her? And I was saying, well, he's not an engineer. And you said he should be more concerned. I was like, oh, you're right. And you nailed it, because that is exactly, there was a huge reason that he wasn't more concerned. We've been noticing this all along, but it really, their pacing is lovely. It came like last week, it came up in a stronger way. And then here we are this week. And I would say my big disappointment, I loved the storyline. I loved the acting. I loved every single thing about it, except for one thing, which is the thing they chose that was his trauma. I thought was actually, I'm sorry, a terrible, terrible choice.
Well,
So,
I mean,
first of all, I wanted it to be something we didn't see. Like the guy has had 800 years of living that we haven't seen. So I would have liked to have heard about something we didn't see. And then if you're going to pick something that we did see, to me, I mean, I've never liked that episode. I was never moved by it. I never bought the emotional depth of it ever.
well, just for those playing the home game.
Sorry, yeah. It's called Real Life. Is that I think that's
Yeah, I think it's season 2 or 3. It's
3.
Yeah, like the doctor makes a family, because this is all in those early episodes when the doctor like, oh, I'm going to try this thing out for fun, and he made a family, and then Tom Paris saw that his family,
B'Elanna,
someone, saw that his family was too perfect, and turned them into real people, and including a daughter that died, and it was kind of dark actually for Voyager, but
it was supposed to be.
Well, yeah, that's
some of us
thing.
remained unaffected. Look, I am the biggest crybaby. I cry watching reruns. I cry sometimes when I think about a sad thing. Like I was watching a show about something sad. I remembered something similar had happened to my niece and I started crying. Like this is how I am. That episode has never moved me. I was shocked when the Delta Flyers reviewed it and talked about how beautiful it was and how moving and sad. When I rewatched, I thought, oh, maybe, just because I'm more emotional. Again, nothing happened. I just kept thinking, well, he created them. So first of all, you can just change the program. He didn't raise the kids. Like he just shows up and the family was fully formed. So it's not like the kind of family where, oh, I fell in love with someone and we had children or adopted children or whatever and raised them. Like he would just have this, he could turn them on and off. So there was no resonance for me because just reprogram her so she doesn't die. Problem solved.
It certainly wasn't, the doctor's version of the inner light.
No. I
remember the episode. I remember some of the specifics. Obviously, not all of them because I thought it was Tom who did it. But
I watched Our Town and 2 Voyager episodes as homework for this.
Right, because the other Voyager episode they mentioned is related to this, which is Blink of an Eye, which was minorly his inner light because he spent 3 years.
So he spends 3 years on this planet, and they also have a time differential thing like Cask. So, it was like they sent him down for 3 seconds, then they lost him for like a minute or whatever. And when he came back, it was 3 years. And that's, he lived with a woman and he says he had a son. And I'm like, that 3 years was significantly longer than the time he spent with his holodeck family.
Yeah.
So you'd think that would resonate more. And the other thing is, look, I know Voyager at the time, it was an episodic show and they weren't supposed to carry over. No traumas were really carried over on that show. But seriously, there were things that affected him so much more strongly than that. That episode had zero resonance for him ever.
So they essentially did a little retconning here because, to say that he's carried this with him for 800 years and it's just like yesterday. But what's nice is that they're looking back to Voyager and they're trying to create this connective tissue and they're trying to create drama for the Doctor. And I felt it felt fine to me. I liked it. And it looked good. I liked that they did the little montage. They showed scenes from Voyager, from his holographic family in the background, which is probably why they didn't choose the other episode where he had a son, because we never saw that.
We never saw it. But I will say it still completely worked for me emotionally. And that's because Bob Picardo is such a great actor. Like he really... You felt, even from that opening monologue when he's talking about time, he's watching sunrises and thinking about all the sunrises he's seen and how he looks at time, which this episode touched on, at different points throughout, because we obviously have Ake, who's super old, and then we have two other people who've jumped into the future. There's a lot of stuff going on, but the weight he brought to it, like, he's known for his comedy, but wow, is he great at drama.
Yeah, they made sure that there was nothing funny about him in this episode, from the opening shot where he's just has this grim look, and he essentially looks at all these organics who are asleep, and he's like, another night where they left me on all night. No, they don't do that anymore.
He can turn himself off. But his point was, like, everybody wakes up thinking it's another chance, it's a new day. And if he hasn't slept, although I guess he should probably turn himself off every once in a while, but but for him, it's like, it's just a continuation. He's like, there's nothing new, there's nothing different. That's an illusion. It's powerful stuff.
Yeah, and his comment later about it was 800 years, it was yesterday, was great. So really smart dialogue in this episode. They really stepped it up, and that was a great storyline. And then back at the campus, we've got the kids falling apart with Tilly trying to hold them together, and with a little snark from Tig Notaro.
Right, of course. Well, I like that the kids were pissed about having to do the play. Like, I would have been mad if they'd all been like, "Yeah, it's a play." They were like, "What the hell?" Like, we've been through a trauma, and our friend is missing, although she wasn't at the beginning. And they're like, "Why are we doing this?" And they're mad, which I thought was very appropriate.
Well, and they were smart enough to figure out what was going on, which is that this was fake trauma counseling.
Yes. And Tilly didn't even say to them, "Okay, do you want to hear all that crazy shit that happened to me?"
Well, so let's take a little sidebar here on. So she was supposed to be a recurring character, but she's a holdover from Discovery. This show is nominally a Discovery spinoff, yet Voyager got mentioned in this episode. We got some visuals from Voyager, a couple of episodes mentioned. Not once did the word Discovery get mentioned. Not once was a single, like, we have Reno and Tilly hanging out, and she calls her Red, but no, like, hey, how's Michael doing? I heard Saru, just had another
babies, had 70 babies.
Yeah. And it's, so they know that the fans are like, oh, look, it's two Discovery characters. But if you don't, they're not drawing Discovery into this show at all, in a sense. They're not painting a picture for us of why, reminding us why she's particularly good at this kind of stuff. So, I thought it was great. I thought the character was still on point, that Tilly seems like the Tilly we know, but older and wiser.
Yeah, it definitely has changed.
But it's weird how, every once in a while the USS Discovery gets mentioned on this show, but they are kind of going out of their way to not Discovery up this show as much as you'd think they would. Now, back in the day, they didn't mention, we didn't get a lot of Next Generation on DS9, and but every once in a while they would, and then eventually they got all over it and they brought Worf in, etc. But and the same with Voyager itself, that it was, that they let those shows live on their own. But in the world of connected universes and all that, I guess I'm just, eventually Michael Burnham in the Discovery is got to show up.
Yeah, I really hope we get to see Michael Burnham at some point. And Saru, I want to see Saru, but I think that's a lot less likely.
Yes.
But I would like to. But we'll see. I mean, it's definitely a choice. And I think the next time we can do a longer interview with showrunners, I would love to talk to them about that choice and what their thinking has been. I mean, we can guess and speculate, but it's obviously something that they've thought about.
For sure.
The thing about this episode that I loved, like, yes, I loved the themes. Yes, I loved the big picture stuff, but it was also just a great collection of small and very powerful moments, sometimes big and very powerful moments, but it was all moments and scenes that just from one to the next, I just stop. It's almost like you want to stop and reflect on them sometimes, because I think they just worked so well. Even like Sam's very impassioned speech about how she wants to fall on her butt and then like have her best friend make her feel better. Like all that kind of stuff was so impactful.
Yeah, I mean, it was very theatrical. There were all these small scenes with big speeches or big moments. We saw the same with the scene with, well, any scene with Tarima, but especially the scene with Caleb and Tarima, which I thought was a really good scene.
Great stuff, yes.
Where she was trying to get drunk, or not successfully getting drunk.
Yeah, she didn't try. She succeeded.
Yeah, I was getting a little worried because you said if she keeps drinking this stuff, like 3 sips puts you in med bay, and she started drunk and then she had a second sip in the middle of the the scene. So I was keeping my eye on, like, is she about to put herself into the hospital? And it was nice to see Caleb stop, because she was trying to get hot and heavy, and he's like, you're drunk.
He's a decent man. I liked it.
And there was a lot of technobabble in that scene. Did you notice that? Just random technobabble in the middle of it?
Yeah, random stuff. But I was glad, again, because this audience is a young audience, it's good to keep those consent messages going.
Oh, yeah. I mean, this show is very, like, they're always talking about you can have a trauma counselor. I mean, a lot of this show for Tarima, the thing that she was dealing with was that they took her choice away of the War College, because the War College, basically, I guess everyone who goes to the War College ends up as a security officer or something. I mean, that's maybe because it's a school for soldiers.
Well, it's a war college, so it has to do with combat. Yeah.
Yeah. And so they decided that she just can't be there anymore, because if she uses her superpowers again, it could kill her, even with her new inhibitor. And so they're like, so, you now get to, congratulations, you're now at the academy, which she didn't really want to be. And they're like, and by the way, do something that doesn't involve stress, like the science. Have fun in the science lab,
right.
So it's all very condescending at the beginning, but that was kind of the point of, she just felt like she has no choice anymore.
Wasn't she so great in that scene when Ake and the doctor are waiting to meet her, and then they said, we wanted to be here when you got here, and she's like, yeah, I figured that's why you're standing here. Like, she was so, I just thought her acting was terrific in this one. She hasn't gotten a lot of great stuff to do before. Like, she's been the girlfriend and looking very fetching and doing a lot, but this was really full on big time acting from her.
Yeah. And, she lashed out at Tilly. She lashed out at Caleb. She tried. I thought there was so they're showing that she's jealous of Genesis and Caleb, but she couldn't, Genesis, once again, always has the right thing.
My perfect girl.
So she couldn't get mad at her, and then called her a port in a storm, which she is, because she's such this calming influence. And Janice was the only person she could open up to, really. And a little bit with Sam, I guess.
Sam at
early.
The beginning, because Sam is so disarming, and because Sam isn't looking at her like she's some kind of freak. Like, Sam's just being Sam.
Yeah.
And so first she makes her laugh, which I loved. And then Tarima asks her, like, have you laughed since? But also, like, when she makes, like, Sam feels bad for a minute and turns away, and that's also when she starts glitching. But she's Tarima, so she knows that she's done some damage. She can feel emotionally that she's done something, and she apologizes.
And Sam was the only person who could make her smile, really.
Yep.
I would have liked to have seen something between her and her brother, because you'd think her brother would have been trying more. But Occam was good in this episode. He was playing the stage manager, which is the most interesting part in our town.
He calls her T. Did you notice that?
Yeah. But he's the one who got everyone going at the end, when literally picking them up off the floor. There was a weird thing. So explain to me, you probably can't, but I'm going to ask you anyway. The whole... I wouldn't call it a subplot, but Jaden had to be excused because he had a cold, and then he come back. I'm like, what?
This is on my list of questions. So, as I have a small list of questions. Usually, when somebody sneezes or coughs, that means we're going to find that they have some kind of terrible illness.
Or they're faking it. But yeah, there's more to it than that.
There's more to it than that. But also, it meant that he wasn't there for certain scenes. Like when they started doing the play, he wasn't there for that. And then he was there again at the end. But he wasn't there. He was missing from some scenes. I didn't know why. I'm wondering if he has a crazy virus. I didn't know why they didn't tell him to go to sick bay instead of his quarters. You can't quarantine in your quarters if you share with other people.
It almost felt like, did he have to leave for the day, and they had to change the script to, cut him out of certain scenes because he had to, because the actor wasn't available for a week.
There's a better they would have come up with a different reason to do it.
I don't know. It was weird. Yeah.
There was something super weird about that I did not understand what was going on.
Unless neither of us have seen episode 9, that this cold of his is actually a thing, and that in the next episode, but it actually means he's pregnant. I don't know. I'm just throwing
I don't think that can happen.
Okay. Well, but Jaden was there at the end, and he suddenly had a role in the play, and then eventually Tarima joined, and it all worked out through the magic of theater.
Through the magic of theater. Wait, I have one more question that might be a thing, but probably isn't. At the very beginning, we see Darum just kind of having a fight with somebody,
Yeah.
But it was right after Tarima had just spoken to Ake and the doctor and stormed off. And, betazoids do affect other people's emotions. And I was wondering if that was planting a seed, or if it was just trying to, because they talked about how they're all fighting and not getting along and not working together. So I wasn't sure if that was just supposed to point that out, or if it was something from her.
No, I think because they showed people fighting when they were doing the simulation. So,
which, by the way, I liked that there was no pretense that was not a simulation. Right? They didn't do that thing that they've done in many Star Trek episodes, or at least a smattering, perhaps, where you think it's real and then you find out. Yeah. Even Discovery did that too. But in this case, the minute you're like, this is a simulation, for sure.
By the way, it reminded me that at some point they're going to do a Kobayashi Maru episode.
I hope so.
Because, it's inevitable, right?
Yeah, well, if you want to be captain, you got to do it.
Yeah, so that's more of a fourth year thing, probably. So if the show...
So.
Well, obviously, Darum had a whole episode where he grew up and had all sorts of stuff happen, and now he's sort of defaulted back to being the D-bag. But they sort of did that at the end of the last episode when he had a snarky thing to say about Kyle.
But I don't think it's a regression. It's just, that's still part of him. But he also was one of the ones when they were talking about the play that was connecting to the themes inside it as they related to him, right? Because he got married.
Yeah.
Before he was ready, and he didn't want things to change. And, they all related the play to something specific, and he had that. So that was a good, non-douchebaggy moment for him.
Oh yeah. And the way he showed his concern for Sam was genuine. He's the D-bag with the heart of gold, obviously. No, I thought everyone was, all the cadet actors and the characters seemed on point in this episode. One thing I liked is that, comparing the Darum storyline to the last episode, is that we're getting a lot of good world building with Kask. We got to visit Kask, which is weird, and I love that.
They would not. They said that we won't reveal it. We're not ready to reveal it to you, and so they made it. They said they made it. They made it an environment that they would find familiar, but basically they made it theatrical. We're we're going to be like our town, and we're going to have minimalist setting. And in fact, they did something interesting with making things black and white, except for the beam that would come. There were moments of color.
Yeah.
And otherwise very black and white, which was echoing our town staging.
Yeah. Very, very clever. But we learned that Kask is not their home world, or it is now, but it wasn't, that they lived somewhere else. Then the organics all died out, and then they went and but moved into Kask.
This shape.
Right. It's like is it a space station? Is it? I still don't know what it is, but I kind of like that. And that you'll hear it when we do the interview. They were showing me all the concept art, and it was all interesting, but I still don't understand what it is. But that's fine. Again, last week we're give us something weird, and we got something weird, and I like it.
Oh yeah, we got something weird. And we also got a great sci-fi solution. Like, Sam's problem was both very grounded in humanity and very sci-fi. Like, that was a very interesting problem and solution when they realized, oh, it's not that she was physically damaged. It's that she can't process trauma because she never had a chance to build up any resilience.
Yeah.
And the sci-fi solution, thanks to the time differential thing, was that they could give her one. And then they tie in the personal by having the doctor. It was a great solution. Really, really well thought out.
Part of me feels that it took one step too long for the doctor to accept it. Like, I almost would have preferred if the doctor came up with the solution. And so first he admitted the daughter thing, but I guess they needed to give Ake something to do. So she came up with the solution, but then it still was hard to talk him into it.
Which I liked that, actually. Okay.
No, I get it. I get it.
It was because it was the last thing he wanted to do. It was the one thing he separate from my feelings about the Voyager episode. It was the one thing that he decided he was never going to do again.
Yeah.
So he's not going to come up with that. But when he realizes it's the right thing, and now he loves Sam, and I love Sam, and they could hug.
Right. It was a very, I mean, again, that showed good dialogue and good character development when Ake talks to the doctor about the loss of his daughter, or because his doctor said something like, I made sure that I would never love. And she said, you mean again? Right. And then she showed how she understood because she lost her son. So they were connecting on that level of parents who've lost children. And that's what really convinced him. And then, yeah, the montage of hugs with the various Sams, the various little Sams.
Aww.
Adorable.
They're still good at montages. Another good montage, and really cute little kids. It's so cute.
Yeah. So I kind of now know the answer because it came up in the interview, because I was like, this is a big deal.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. This isn't business as usual when they come back.
Yeah. So I would say this is like Murph 2.0, when Murph got arms. So, I mean, she
hopefully had more articulate.
Yeah. She had new haircut at the end, right?
I mean, she's had a lot of different hair, but this was new, different hair. And
it was subdued.
Yeah.
I like her hair, but it was just kind of,
less flashy.
Exactly. But she still had, what's good is she didn't come back as, she still seemed like Sam, and she still loved everyone, which was good.
Yes. Those hugs, again, such good hugs. I mean, yes, this is the hugging era of Star Trek, I would say. I mean, Discovery had tons of hugs and stuff, but it was just the right, like, the hugs all had they were, again, moments, like a different kind of hug for each person, and each one spoke to character, and each one resonated, and some of them made me cry again.
The thing that actually made me cry, I cried. Okay, I'm a man, I cry. Was when she turned back to look to the doctor, who didn't join her. He kind of let her go, and but she, before, like, or maybe in the midst of this emotion with all her friends, she still looked back to who's essentially her father now, just to, I don't know, acknowledge him, say goodbye, show him, see how he's doing, and you could see how proud he was of his adorable holographic daughter.
This time, a much more interesting holographic daughter.
Yeah. I mean, I'm not sure what else I have to say about this episode. Not a lot of Easter eggs. I mean, we learned, stuff about, apparently that warrior stew can include testicles of your enemies or something.
Sure, why not?
So, Klingons are Klingons. I did like when Jaden was describing Klingon opera, and the way that was, because this episode was very serious, but they tried to have fun a few moments. And
Tilly going, so much murder.
Yeah. She was really trying to be supportive, but obviously she's not a fan of Klingon opera.
She was very funny. She was great. There was some other fun stuff. Like, Terima always seems to have really funny stories about other people doing strange rituals. right? Like, like this time it was some very patriotic girl. And she starts imitating some dance that she would do. But she always has these very strange and funny details.
Indeed. By the way, why, I mean, obviously they do it for story reasons, but I'm like, how, I guess they must be tight for space. So, because when Occam came, he had to room with Darum and Caleb, and now Trima comes and there's no room for her, so she has to, they have to triple up with her as well. But I guess it is a spaceship, and even though it seems infinitely large, they don't have a lot of room.
And definitely for story reasons, it worked in so many ways. And I love that moment when they come back after Sam's gone, Terima and Genesis, and then they walk into the room, and it's just, they didn't even have to show in the room. We see them walk in the door and it feels empty, and we feel it through them. Like, boy, this is empty because she's not there. And then they both go to their separate areas of the room.
This show's very good at, like, it's constantly reminding me of life in college. Like the way Sam obsessed about her pillow. I'm like, how many times have you had ridiculously stupid conversations in college about things like that? Whether you were high or not. Although that was kind of a stoner conversation Sam was having about her pillow. But
that's probably why I liked it so much. So
yeah. So, you don't need to be in the target demographic to remember when you were in the target demographic.
No,
I guess.
I put that in my notes, that I put that it's all so relatable, that I remember the intensity of youth, and I relate to all those emotions and the confusion and being lost. Like, it's completely relatable. And also, I'm going to say one thing that I think helps is we had the same director as last week, right?
Yeah.
And I just think she is a really strong director, because I get frustrated by the overuse of camera moves with some of the others. And I just feel like she just really tells the story, and we can see what's going on with the characters. We can see what's happening in the room. It's very grounded, and that helps a lot. And I will be sad when we go back to the jumping around crazy camera that we know is coming.
Yeah. They've been doing 2-episode blocks all season, which is what they started with Picard, but the next episode is directed by Frakes, but Frakes doesn't direct the finale. That's Tunde. So those are going to have different styles.
Tunde's when it's going to go nuts, but Frakes likes to go nuts too. That's
true. And he certainly likes to emulate the show style, whatever. Basically, if the show says go nuts, he's going to go nuts. So we'll see what he does. But we're jumping ahead.
He's not big on pulling back in general. Whenever he's described working with actors, he's like, and they always say, is it too much? And I go, no, keep going. So, I mean, I love his big personality. So that's kind of, I think, built into who he is. Like, he's a big, tall man, and he's got a big, loud voice, and he's a lovely, lovely, boisterous person.
Indeed.
So that's just part of his whole thing.
Yeah. Oh, and preview next week. Guess who will be our guest, or my guest?
Your guest.
Johnny F.
I know. Yay. If you had more than 10 minutes, I'd insist on crashing your interview. But with 10 minutes, there's no time for dilly-dally.
But I think we're done with this episode, and we should go on to our interviews, right?
I want to just say 2 quick lines that I loved.
Okay.
Ready?
Yes.
One, Ake said, "Life is a heartbreaking, gorgeous blip in the universe." And I was like, yes, it is. That's so good. And I especially enjoyed Reno telling Tilly, "Your relentless optimism is nightmarish."
Yeah. Any moment there weren't enough of them with those two together was great.
And sure. Ake, the 3 of them. Oh my God. I just wanted it all day long.
Yeah.
All right. Which interview should we play first?
Let's start with, since we've already kind of teased it, let's start with so I spoke to Gaia Violo, who is the creator of the series and is in the writer's room as one of the producers. I think she's an executive producer. They have so many titles, but she co-wrote this episode, and then with Noga Landau, who's executive producer and co-showrunner. And because you can't see them, Gaia is the one who has a slightly Italian accent, and Noga is the one who has a very American accent, I guess. Here we go.
Hey there.
Hey guys, I don't think I met any of you guys. Noga, Guy, you're new to all of this, I guess.
Very much so.
Or behind the scenes, you haven't been, obviously. Okay, so let's start at the beginning. Was this episode specifically crafted for Mary with the whole kind of our town theater kid vibe that, because we just talked to her about it yesterday and she was super jazzed about all of that.
Yeah, I don't think we could have done this episode without Mary Wiseman on so many fronts, but namely that it was finally time for her to come and shine, and we had to bring it in order to earn, Sylvia Tilly coming back to Star Trek. But there were so many serendipitous things about having Mary come back to play the role for this episode in particular. One of them was we knew we wanted it to be about our town, because there's so many parallels between what the message of our town is and what our cadets are going through in this episode. But when we sat down with Mary to say, hey, would you like to come back to play Tilly? And we told her what the episode was going to be, she got this look on her face, and it was a very emotional look, and we were worried that we made her cry. We didn't know why we made her cry. And then she said, actually, I played Emily in our town when I was at Juilliard. So this play has meant a lot to me in my life. So it was like the stars aligned. The life of the stars aligned.
Yeah, when she was first announced, like a Comic-Con forever ago, we assumed we were going to get more Mary. So are we getting more Mary?
I love that question. I will tell you that we want lots of Mary. We want as much as possible. It was having her with us on the red carpet at the premiere was like a dream come true. And you will just have to stay tuned in to see.
That is exactly what she said. Okay.
And I would add to that it was being on set for the reunion of Tilly and Reno with Holly as well, with Nala, and both writing that scene and then seeing it on screen. And seeing it in person and then on screen. It was one of those pinch me moment, I guess, because it felt this very necessary, this three powerful women in one room, just sort of connecting the experience of Discovery, the experience of Starfleet Academy, with the large framework of how do we help this new generation that is incoming and is not quite ready to be officers yet, but they're on their way to become that. It was very special.
So, Gaia, first of all, congratulations on being the first credited creator of a Star Trek show solo credit since Gene Roddenberry.
Oh, my God. I actually didn't know that. So thank you for sharing that.
Do the math. Every show's always had two or more. So, I was kind of shocked when I'm like, how did Alex not get his name in there? Anyway, but going back to your original idea of the show,
yeah.
And Noga, as you guys were developing it, how long had you planned this doctor thing? Because it's from the pilot, which you wrote.
Mm-hmm.
He's super reluctant as soon as Sam shows up. So was this whole backstory with the loss on Voyager always you knew it then that's where this was all headed?
It was there from the beginning. The idea of the Doctor having lived 800 for so long and the experience of loss and what that means for someone that experienced life. I like to think of it as a flowing river. It's just constant. And what that means for him, that was always there from the beginning. And the idea that there was just one other holographic student there who was looking at him for that level of mentorship and his inability to connect because it is too painful when you're living life again as a flowing river and everybody's passing you by and you're still there. That was always intriguing. And then I think the specificity of how are we going to handle that story and bring it full circle with Sam. how are we going to address real life and what happened in season 3 of Voyager. And rewatching that episode and how gut-wrenching that ending is. There were so many in the many drafts that Jane and I did. There were so many Easter eggs to that episode. The blanket that he holds. So we really leaned in and really wanted to honor that storyline. And then as obviously the writing process goes on, we simplified, we streamlined the episode. But I would say we wanted to honor that story at the very beginning with the pilot, but it really came full circle, and we really delved into it in episode 8.
So these last 2 episodes are very much about consequences, but a lot happened in 108, and it makes me think so now, is Sam just a totally different person now? She has a childhood. And is the Doctor a totally different person now? Because he had this whole experience. So how much does this ripple through the show?
So one of the most fun things coming out of this episode, but that we really get to live in a fun way, is that they are now father and daughter to the core. And we really get into that in season 2 in ways that are super touching and funny and hilarious and awesome. And so I can't wait for you all to watch season 2. We'll have it ready for you soon. But yeah, I mean, the way we designed the transformation of Sam is that there really was, we called it sort of colloquially in the writer's room, Sam 1.0 and Sam 2.0. And Sam 1 really was just a couple months old and was a baby in so many different ways. And the contrast that you start to see in episodes 9 and episode 10, but in a big way in season 2, is that Sam 2.0, while she does carry the memories of Sam 1.0, she really is a totally different person. She feels things that Sam 1.0 never felt. You know, something I'll tease about what happens in season 2 is she actually starts to feel feelings of attraction, because when you're a couple months old and you're Sam 1.0, you don't have that yet. You haven't grown that yet. But if you're 17 going on 18, that's when you start to experience all of these facets of life that she needed to grow into. And that's why we did episode 8. And also being raised by the Doctor, that's a funny experience. You're going to have to do a lot of opera. You're going to have to, watch a lot of weird science experiments going on under your nose. There's so much hilarity that comes from being the daughter of the Doctor that we really get to live in season 2.
Well, you just brought up season 2, and I know that the party was last night. I assume you guys weren't in Toronto because it looks like, it's a complicated world of business that you guys are in. So, did you craft the season 2 finale so that it could work as a series finale?
Absolutely not.
Gosh, no.
We have so much more story to tell. And if anything, I mean, yeah, we didn't. It is not the end.
It is such a shocking ending that you do not want to. No.
Okay. All right. Because I know that, I've talked to the Strange New Worlds guys, and they kind of, every season, except for the first one, they kind of just encased it. Yeah. And Discovery ran into the problem when they had to go back and ask for more money to do the, extra stuff. So, well, let's hope that, any indications on season 3?
Nothing yet. And, but we're so happy with season 2, and we can't wait for everybody to see it.
Great. So this episode, getting back to, consequences, it's all about trauma, and the previous one as well. And so I'm wondering, were you guys, or I'm thinking, maybe Tawny or Kirsten bringing up episodes like Family or It's Only Paper Moon? Are you looking to some of these, or maybe not even Star Trek, of inspirations of how do you deal, and especially young people, which is a bit new for Trek, with trauma, because they have the least tools available for that. So, where did you look for inspiration on this? And is this going to continue? I guess, is it, or is, so.
I think, Kirsten and Tawny are such a big presence in the writer's room, and we really couldn't write any, they're essential to the writing process and the development process, because they're really giving you the guidepost. And we really want to honor what came before us as we are charting new territory. So that, yes. So real life, in the blink of an eye was another one that, we really rewatched to understand what the Doctor had experienced beforehand. But in terms of trauma, I think that's the genuine answer is that's the human experience. Every single person in the writer's room has experienced some version of something that they've had to deal with that was part of it became a big part of their lives or changed their perspective on life or really propelled them into adulthood. So, and that is why a writer's room becomes such a precious and sacred space, because you're sharing real life. And in many ways, that episode is a love letter to two young women who have gone through a traumatic experience, who are not even that close when they begin the story. And yet, throughout this journey, they're choosing what some calls hopeful defiance, to just keep going. They decide that trauma is not the end of their story. It's just a chapter. So I would say, in terms of trauma, it's a combination of, yes, story and what came before us, but then the real life experience of every single person in that writer's room.
You know what I would add to that, Tony? I'm trying to remember, because the reference you made to family.
Family was the TNG one where Picard rolls in the mud with his brother.
That's an episode you make when you're dealing with a character who's in his 40s, who's lived so much life, who that's how he processes it. Doing it taking the spirit of family and doing it in the framework of a school where you have instructors who are going to come in and try and fix the problem. I feel like in a lot of ways this was our version of that. But also the thing I'm trying to remember right now is Trek has such a rich tradition of doing episodes about theater.
Oh yeah, for sure.
The other inspiration that was so important to us is to be we're far from the first Star Trek writers room to be let's do theater in Star Trek. There's such a history of doing Shakespeare, of doing, old plays, that I felt when we were designing this episode, it made so much sense that, of course, the act of theater sits in the Star Trek universe so comfortably. We have to do the same thing on Starfleet Academy.
Now, you guys are doing all the classics. You're doing the Shakespeare references. You're doing the Latin titles, all that stuff.
Yeah.
Okay, I think I've only got one last question. So this was a deep dive into cask. We visited the cask. What is it? It's like a cube. I thought it was what is cask? I didn't fully understand. What are we looking at?
We are keeping it mysterious.
Okay.
There is method to the madness.
I'm pulling it up. We have the concepts here.
Go.
Gaia, tell them about our art department while I do this.
Well, just that, Matthew Davis is our, is really the brain behind everything that we are building.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
So that's the concept art.
Yeah.
Tell the people, Tony. So this is,
it's like a geodesic, it's something. It's it looks like something you roll in D&D, except it's not uniform. But exactly. I guess the question is it a technological construct or a physical body, or both?
It is both. What it does is it's once you enter Cask, space and time sort of break down in the interior. And Dr. Aaron McDonald, our science consultant, could make it sound so much better than that. But that's essentially what it does.
Right. Oh, this is your mood board or something? Yeah.
But
okay.
I would say we are exploring, because again, with the makers and the way Sam grew up, and there is a lot to explore there that we haven't really delved into. And it's a version of an alien species that we haven't really seen before, and we really want to explore.
Well, I just hope that Bella, that we finally learned something about the Dar Shah, because we still don't know anything about them.
I hear you.
I know. Well, you know how we did the Darsha was when we decided that they were nomadic. That was what we knew about them. Our amazing prosthetics department was like, so what do you want them to look like? And we were like, we want them to look like gorgeous aliens that woke up at Burning Man.
Okay.
And that was the design for the Darsha.
Well, I look forward to meeting more of them, like her dad, who we keep on hearing about. All right. Well, it's been a pleasure. Say hi to Alex. And good luck in season 3, I guess.
It was very nice to meet you, Anthony.
And congratulations on wrapping season 2.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. And goodbye.
Thank you.
I have to say that I can't believe that she didn't know that she was the first sole creator of a Star Trek show since Gene Roddenberry.
Yeah.
That nobody mentioned that before. I mean, I think it was one of the first things we noticed when we saw the credits. We were like, isn't that the first time since Gene?
Yeah, it's clear that she has a love of the show and a unique perspective on Star Trek as well. Yeah, I mean, I'm really, I'm digging her writing and, her addition to the family, the Star Trek family, and her enthusiasm. She was just great. So I hope we get more time with her.
Yeah, I'd love to have her on for a whole podcast just to talk about the whole thing. I want to have all these guys on. I want to have Noga on too and just really dig in.
So what did you think about what they had to say about season 2?
Well, it's interesting that they didn't rate a finale.
I mean, the implication is is this fair to say?
Cliffhanger?
Cliffhangery?
It's a dangerous road to go. I will tell you, it's not insurance. I've worked at places where people thought it was insurance. I was working at A&E. I was on the website, but they had a show called The Glades, which in fact is how I met Jonathan Frakes for the first time, because he directed an episode and I went to the set. But they thought they were going to get picked up. They wanted to get picked up. So the show ends with the main character lying on the floor, stabbed, late for his own wedding. And then it never came back.
That's almost like just thumbing your nose at it.
No, they thought it was their guarantee of a new season. They were so sure, and they didn't get it. And so that's the scary thing with these shows. And I don't want everyone hedging their bets and making every season ender feel like a series ender, but it does sound like this ends on a cliffhanger, maybe.
I mean, the Strange New Worlds guys have tried their best. And in fact, Discovery Season 5, I thought actually that finale could have worked. They didn't need the coda. I could see why they wanted one. I mean, you got to be optimistic about the future, because when we spoke last week with Bella Shepherd, and she talked about the mood on the set and how it was bittersweet, and reading between her lines, it doesn't sound like any of them are expecting season 3, but maybe that's just the way I was hearing it.
No, I think you're right. And I also think, for her, we're Star Trek fans, so we're like, well, every show's got to get at least, what's the new thing? 4 years, 5 years?
I don't
seasons, know. Right? We're it used to be 7, then 4, 5. So the idea of Prodigy was only 2.
Well, 4 if you're counting 10 episodes a season.
That's true. It was really 4. And Picard was always set to be limited.
Yeah.
So, but if you just think of TV in general, nobody ever knows. So I think that's how they're thinking.
Yeah, and I met and they knew the difference for them is when they were doing a wrap on season 1, they're like, see you in a few months. They knew they were coming back.
Right.
And so it is definitely different. Anyway, let's listen to what you had to say with your old pal, Mary Wiseman.
Mary!
Hi, how are you?
I haven't seen you in years. How are you?
I know, I'm good, thanks. It's nice to see you.
It's really, really nice to see you, and it's really nice to have you back in Trek. So
Yeah.
I saw your play at the wedding, which I loved, and I thought you killed it in the Residence, too. So
Oh, thanks. Really appreciate it.
still keeping an eye on you.
Okay, good. It's nice to be observed.
So what was it about this episode that you thought worked really well for Tilly? And were there other options on the table?
This is what, Alex brought to me, and I thought it was so brilliant, and I was personally really invested because I have a history with Our Town and a greater history with Thornton Wilder, and obviously I'm a theater kid myself. So I was very excited to get to bring that into the Star Trek universe. And I thought it was really a brilliant use of using something like theater in an academic setting to enable the kind of openness and vulnerability that I think is necessary to develop resilience in people who are going to be faced with serious trials like these cadets were on the Miyazaki.
And but that was the only one that came up. Like they didn't say, "Oh, we've got these 5 ideas" or anything like that.
No, they brought it to me after they'd already written the script. It was just perfect, and I think that they felt like that, and I felt like that when they presented it to me, and was so excited. It's such a natural fit, and yeah, I was just elated. I thought it was such a cool idea, and I was just chomping at the bit to get started.
Yeah, it did seem very on brand for you as well as for her. That final confrontation scene that Tilly has with Terima, it was so. I mean, I've watched it twice. I crying my eyes out both times, of course. So, but how do you, in a scene like that, when someone else is at that level, that high emotional intensity, how do you keep yourself from going there? Like you were holding it all in.
Yeah, that's a great question. It's tricky because a lot of times in acting, you want to kind of give what you receive. And so I felt like what I needed to hold and what I was reminded of by, the director and Alex and everybody involved is that, she's affected by this and what this girl is going through and how this girl is responding to her. But also she's in a position now where she's a teacher and responsible for this cadet and needs to hold things together to guide her through this really difficult experience, which was a really fun thing to play and really dynamic in the playing of it, was how to empathize with her and receive what Terima was experiencing and going through and try to steer the ship where I thought it needed to go in order for her to move through this experience and heal and be able to come out better on the other end.
And then were you given any, we all know that like Tilly went off to be an instructor at the academy, at what the academy was then before this show. But did you talk at all with Alex and the writers about other things that have happened between Discovery and now for Tilly?
I guess I kind of, I took what I knew from the script, which is that Tilly has been in the Beta Quadrant with the third years. And I kind of just filled it in imaginatively that she's been off of the base and, working kind of in the field with these slightly older, more advanced cadets. And then also, imaginatively, and I think in this was, the script was instructive in this, I think really settled into her role as a teacher and really found her approach and her way through, and has found comfort and ease and a lot of meaning in getting to be a teacher. And I really like that idea, that when she makes this shift from wanting to be a captain to wanting to be a teacher, that she's actually really found her place where she can thrive and be the most effective and the most helpful.
Yeah, she does seem to have a certainty that she didn't have before.
Yeah,
like she was
hard-earned.
Yeah, like she was always very much herself, like very authentic, but she doesn't seem to have that sort of insecurity anymore, or fear, or doubt.
Yeah, I don't think that at this point in Tilly's life, and having taken on this role as a teacher, Tilly is not struggling with imposter syndrome when it comes to being a teacher. I think she's really settled into a place where she feels like she can be effective, and she can also find joy in her work. And I don't think it would be satisfying if she was dealing with the same demons that she did as a cadet on a starship. I think that I would crave, and I would hope the audience would crave, a certain kind of growth from her, where she's a bit more situated and a bit more embodied.
And did that all come from you, or was that part of your discussions with writers or Alex?
I always feel like I'm being instructed by the text that I'm reading. I don't see, in the script, a lot of waffling or a lot of self-doubt in her. I see her just trying her hardest to move through this with these cadets, and help them from a place of her own experience and from a place of confidence that she can right the ship.
Right. We all thought we were going to see a lot more of you this season. And I know you're just in this one episode. Are you going to be back next season?
I
Can't answer.
Outside my purview.
Okay, understood. We get that answer a lot. I understand.
Yeah, I'm sure you do.
So Discovery launched a whole new era of Star Trek, and along with all the love that came with Star Trek fans, there are always some that are just over the top negative about whatever thing they think is their thing. Everything, whatever it is. And you've come through all that. And I'm wondering if you gave any or would give any advice to these young actors taking on these roles who are already seeing, a lot of it.
God, I would really hope that they would come to me if they were being affected by anything like that, because it is a really difficult thing to suddenly be confronted with. An online presence of, anonymous individuals who can work out some of whatever's going on in their own lives, be it rage or, self-loathing, and then put that onto you. It's shocking. It's like, you always want the power of invisibility so you can see how the world feels about you. This kind of situation is like getting that power. You get to see the worst things people could say about you and the kindest things people could say about you. And that's how you find out you don't want the power of invisibility, actually want the power of light. So it's really jarring when it first happens. And what I would say to them is sadly, this is the way it is to be any sort of a public figure, and it's not about you, and these comments are not reflective of reality, and they actually have nothing to do with you. They have to do with another person who is struggling with their own thing and working through it in a really destructive way. But I hate that anybody else has to go through that, especially young people. Especially anybody just starting out. So I feel very protective, and just talking about this really makes me want to reach out to them and see how they're doing. I think I didn't want to anticipate that would happen while we were on set. You don't want to scare people or make them feel vulnerable, like they have to protect themselves, but maybe a check-in would be nice, because it's a really intense period of growing pains to go through that. And to the greater world, I would just say, just treat people the way you want to be treated and be gentle. We're all just little babies up in here.
Yeah, it is. The vitriol is insane. But
It's
there's a lot of love. There's so much love out there too.
Yeah, and that can be really daunting to take on also.
Yeah.
You don't really know where to put that. So it's all a process, and you become better at taking it in and letting it go.
You had two scenes, but one particularly great one with Tig and Holly together, the three of you. Was there any more? Like, it was so short. It wasn't enough. Like, was there more stuff filmed or written, like a cut?
No, that was it. I think they wanted to get Tilly in with the cadets, and I totally get it. And I was grateful for any time I can get with Tig. I think, both as people and as characters, we have a really good, like, absolute optimist, absolute curmudgeon dynamic that is really satisfying. And of course, I was just over the moon to get to work with Holly Hunter. I've been a fan forever, and
Same.
To get to see her in the flesh and work with her was such an honor and something I can take with me that I'm really grateful for.
Was it fun? Did you guys have fun filming that? Yeah,
I mean, I had a blast. I was just on cloud nine. I get to work with, Holly Hunter, and I get to bother Tig. This is my ideal scenario.
It's definitely mine to watch too.
Oh, that's sweet. Thanks.
So I'm just winding up. Has it felt familiar stepping back into Trek?
Yeah, I mean, the costumes, the literal sound stages, the crew. There's so many crew members that have come over from the other show, and producers, and I got to see everybody. It's like a homecoming. There's so much love. You spend so much time with these people, and then Tunde, and then I got to run into Jonathan Frakes as he was prepping his next episode, and just a delight of getting to see people you don't get to see every day, but have spent a lot of time with. Just big hugs and happy tears, and it rocks, honestly.
Yay! That's what I love to hear. Well, thank you so much. I hope at some point we can get you on the podcast just to talk about Discovery, to go through all of that. That would be really great.
For sure.
But thank you so much, and it was a big thrill seeing you. We've all been waiting. So it was really nice to see you in the show, and it was a great episode.
Thanks a lot, Laurie. I appreciate you.
And nice to see ya.
Nice to see you too.
Right. I'd like to apologize to everybody, including Mary, for my exuberant enthusiasm upon seeing her face on the Zoom screen and yelling, "Mary!" as soon as I saw her. I didn't plan that. It just kind of came out, and she laughed, so it's fine. I was just very excited.
She does know her name, but
I hadn't seen her in years. I was excited.
Yeah. I mean, I thought that you did a great job. I was a little worried, because you and I talked about these questions beforehand, when you were going to ask about the whole thing of fans' reactions and stuff, because we know she went through a lot.
So much crazy shit that still goes on.
But she had some good stuff to say, and obviously she's still thinking about it.
Yeah. Yeah. And also, I like that she talked about how the good stuff can be a lot too.
Yeah.
It's an interesting conversation, I thought. I would have liked to have talked to her for longer, obviously.
Now, looking at both of our interviews, we don't have a definitive answer on if there's more Tilly.
I think there is.
There must be.
Because otherwise they just would have said, no, that's it.
Yeah. They dropped the hint at the end of the episode of, see you later, but we want you to come back. And she said, "Oh yeah, I'd love to." I mean, this episode set up something which was obvious, but maybe we haven't discussed, which is Tilly had gone off to what was called Starfleet Academy, but it was this kind of little space school, and it's still out there somewhere. So the class that we've seen all season long is just the freshman class. They did not bring those students in.
Like the ones that we saw in Discovery when she went on her mission with them and one of them died.
Right. So they're out there with Tilly and some other people. And Tilly talked about how she's with the third years. So, she's with the Space Juniors out there doing stuff instead
Space
of
Juniors.
Yeah. Although presumably the Starfleet Academy, and maybe this is a question of if that ship/school is currently only housing freshman classes.
What happens next year when there are 2 years worth of classes?
And the year after that, and the year after, if they're already running out of room for roommates, because the Ward College kids have their own dorms off the ship school, which we've seen, but the ship school is going to have 4 classes where I'm sure one would hope they've thought of this. We've seen pictures from season 2 behind the scenes. You could see their uniform. There's actually a new uniform. Spoiler alert.
Yeah.
For Genesis, but they've got the 2 stripes because they're second year students, and there's still room for more stripes.
And more students and more rooms and more everything.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway, I think we've done it, right? We've reviewed, we've discussed, we've done 2 interviews. I think we're ready to
do my bit of the week.
Oh, bits of the week. Indeed. So what's your bit of the week?
Mine is, and I think everybody should go listen to it, LeVar Burton was on literally with Rob Lowe on that podcast. He's promoting season 2 of Trivial Pursuit, the game show that he's hosting, which I haven't seen yet. I should actually watch that. But it was such a great conversation, and he talked about losing Jeopardy and how it changed the way that he viewed things, which I thought was really interesting. Some of the changes he's made in his life and his way of thinking. He says, he talked about how disappointment forces us to grow beyond our perceived limits, I believe is what he said. So it was quite profound and moving. I always love to hear him tell stories. And he and Rob Lowe have both been in the business since they were teenagers and have known each other since the late 70s. So that was interesting. And he even talked about being on Dropping Names. So that was fun. But it is well worth a listen. He's a wise man. Rob Lowe is always interesting and has good stories. So I will put a link up to that. I recommend it.
Very cool. I don't have a bit except that William Shatner will never stop. His latest thing is he's making a heavy metal album.
Because of course he is.
Of course. But I mean, I hope he goes all the way. I want to see him in a heavy metal wig, in leather pants. I mean, come on, Bill. If you're going to do it right. That's all I'm saying.
I don't want to see him in leather pants. I still remember as a kid, my father saying there should be a law that anyone over at the age of 25 should not be wearing leather pants.
It's probably a good thing.
Yeah,
okay.
Words of wisdom from Laurie's dad.
Okay.
I do want to thank everyone. Last week I asked for ratings or reviews. You guys came through. Thank you. There's a bunch of new reviews up. Keep them coming, but we're very grateful. We read them all. It means a lot. Thank you.
Thank you. And see you next week with the Frakes episode.
See ya.